Welcome everybody to Docseason. How y'all doing? Thank you for tuning in again today. This is episode 10 and I got two amazing guests with me again. I got Cynthia and Justin. I'm gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves really quick before we go ahead and get started into the conversation. Go ahead, Cynthia, introduce yourself to the people.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Hawk. I am a university student at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. I am a political science major with my minor in women, gender, and sexuality. And I guess my most recent accomplishments that I've done so far in my undergrad is I was the TED Talk speaker this October, my bad. This October, I was a TED Talk speaker and I spoke about LGBTQ public health for the youth demographic. So that's my biggest achievement I've done so far in 2020.
Okay, so you on the TED Talk, y'all. Hold on.
Yeah,
Serious
that's
stuff.
awesome.
Definitely congrats. Cynthia and I have known each other since I met her in college. You know, we've been involved in a lot of different organizations together. So it's really cool to have you on the podcast and I appreciate you so much for joining us. And I can't wait to hear, the conversation and what you got to say to the people. So thank you. My man, Justin, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. I know everybody in Vegas probably already know you, but go ahead.
Hey y'all, I'm Justin. I'm a former basketball player. I played at the D1 level. I didn't actually get to play, but I received a full scholarship to play the Division I basketball. Currently working to be a model, a barber, and a YouTuber.
Okay, go crazy, man. Go crazy. I mean, Justin and I have known each other since middle school, so back to the Harney days. So you are. Well, I appreciate you very so much for you being able to jump on here. I know you're just now starting your YouTube back up, so everybody, once the podcast ends, we'll definitely plug you in on his YouTube and everything, so y'all can get connected with him as well, because we all in it together as a family. So, but anyway, everybody that's watching, thank you so much again. It's Docseason episode 10, and today's conversation is going to get pretty interesting. Especially, it's kind of interesting to talk about with our society nowadays and the way people portray different gender roles in relationships and society. So it's pretty interesting, to really dive in deep on why those topics are important, or if those same topics from way back then still apply to now, if that makes sense. But we'll obviously get into detail and we'll dive in a little bit deeper on that. But before we get started on really the gender equality stuff and gender roles and relationships in society, I do want to ask Cynthia. I know she already introduced herself, but I understand that she identifies as a feminist, correct?
Yes.
Yes, so since Cynthia identifies as a feminist, I do want her to kind of elaborate on what a feminist is and their ideas, and kind of, because I know a lot of people have different ideas on what a feminist is or the values that they hold. So it'd be really good for her to go ahead and introduce herself as a feminist, and if you can go ahead and touch on a little bit about the ideas that you got to share, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, so I am a minor. I have a minor in women, gender, and sexuality, which means I basically just apply a lot of theory to how we analyze hierarchy and dynamics in society and our cultures. And so for me, I identify as an intersectional feminist, which means my feminism is intersectional. It's not just quote unquote white feminism, which is typically centered towards cis women who are of higher economic class, and typically straight as well. And so I try to expand my social justice and my activism. And so a lot of the time, if it's intersectional feminism, it means you're incorporating race, you're incorporating Marxist theory, so how class interacts with all of these things, indigenous folks, all kinds of stuff like that. And so you kind of just, another major point would be colonization. You learn about what colonization has done to both genders, including third gender, which would be indigenous beliefs that existed before colonizers and missionaries came and presented a binary system of gender. So that's kind of a little synopsis. It's a lot to dive in. It's a lot of theory, but a lot of it is applicable, because I always tell people theory, you can read all you want theory, but this is happening to real life people. And so we all have our own identities and our experiences that can make us evaluate society.
Definitely, and I appreciate you for sharing that, because I do know a lot of people out there probably see feminism as like this terrible thing, and only like kind of like you said, like white feminists, you know what I mean? Like they kind of focus on, they think they're so extreme, you know, I mean, there's extremists in every category and every idea.
Right.
But you know, it's good that you were able to elaborate a little bit and let people know that it's not just this crazy idea that women have or whatever like that. So I'm really happy that you were able to explain that. And I like how you incorporate all different races into it and colonization and everything. That means you're tying everything together, but you're also fighting for gender equality as well. So I mean, it works both ways. So thank you for that. But shoot, now that you guys kind of have an idea. Oh, go ahead, Justin. What were you saying?
Do you study polygamy?
So I took a sociology class because it's kind of at SUU, our minor is so small that they actually have us, we dip our toes into different departments. So anthropology, sociology, political science, all that fun stuff, economics. And so I did take a class about family sociology, and we discussed polygamy outside of the US. So like FLDS, that type of association. We talked about polygamy in Eastern Asia. Which is kind of interesting on how they have their own family dynamics. So it's not always a negative connotation. Sometimes it's just outside of the Western perspective, which is typically monogamy and binary gender roles.
Okay. Good question, Justin. Good question. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's a good question, definitely. Well, with all that being said, I mean, I'll go ahead and let Justin jump on the first topic, really, though. I mean, so how do you, Justin, specifically, how do you, in your own mind, and don't worry, you know, whatever you answer, your opinion is your opinion, there's no right or wrong answer, but how do you define gender roles like in relationships? You know, like, do you think that gender roles in relationships exist, or do you think it not exist? And I mean, we're open to conversation to whether you agree or disagree.
I definitely do. I feel like oftentimes in a relationship, a man is looked at as the person that is supposed to have the job, you know, the main source of income, I should say. And women, I feel like women are also now, that's kind of changing though, because women are becoming more bosses, and they're not like, they're like looking down on men almost, like how I kind of feel about it. With the music, you know, just kind of the music, like give a F by the, you know, that song. So I just feel like it's definitely changing now though. It's not so much the man being the breadwinner in the family.
And I mean, I personally do think gender roles do exist, but I think there's a lot of people out there that take it to an extreme, or take it to like, just because there's gender roles that do exist, they try to put that specific role on that person, if that makes sense. So like, I get that, you know, the man is supposed to be like the breadwinner, and the man is supposed to take care of the family, you know, provide, you know, all the food, the shelter and everything like that. But we do have to realize that times are changing, and it's okay, you know, if the man in a relationship isn't necessarily the breadwinner anymore, you know what I mean? Because you have to think about it. A lot of women now are evolving to a different level of, you know, hierarchy. You know, a lot of them, like you said, a lot of them are bosses now. A lot of them are bosses, they CEOs, they do, you know, they got their own money, they got their own businesses. They're not worried about a man being a breadwinner for them, you know what I mean? So I think that gender roles definitely do exist. There are some things that men should do that women shouldn't. There's some things that women should do and that men shouldn't, but we can get into that later. But I kind of want to hear Cynthia's idea on gender roles. Do you think gender roles exist in relationships? And if you don't think they exist, do you think they should?
Well, they exist for sure. I mean, I think the most common one would probably be the nuclear family. From the 1950s and 60s, you kind of have that American-centric dynamic between men and women. And gender, you know, gender is a social construct, just like time is, and it has value to us because we put value onto it. And so to me, we genderize everything. Our clothes are gendered. Everything's so gendered. And I think as we've continued forward in the 21st century, things are being more blurred. So like, for example, a woman's gender role in the 20th century was kind of pushing the limits. It was kind of like women couldn't even really wear pants. It was like socially unacceptable in the early 1900s for a woman to wear men's clothing or to even wear pants and to express themselves in that way. And so gender roles, they shift and they change. And so they do exist because we put value to them. So as long as we put value, they'll exist. So I guess that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really hard to it's really hard to really, because obviously it's all opinionated, but it's really hard to define if gender roles and relationships do exist because everybody's so different. You know what I mean? Like I could easily, I'm not saying this is me, but just an example. I could easily say, you know, if I'm in a relationship, you know, I would want this specific, you know, I want to take care of you. I want to make sure that that I'm able to bring money home to the family, make sure that I have money for you guys. I want to make sure that you guys are safe. And if you don't want to work, you don't have to work. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying, but that's like example. And I think a lot of men believe that.
I like that.
You said what?
I like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men nowadays think that women, you know, you guys don't have to work. If I have the money, don't work. You shouldn't have to work. But I think people forget that there's women out here with dreams and aspirations just like men. You know what I mean? So it's really cruel and rude to kind of tell a woman like, you don't have to work. I don't need you to work. I got this. You know what I mean? Because you probably could have it. You know, you probably could. Hey, stay home. But what about, you know, your lady? What if she wants to work on something that she's been always wanting to work on? What if she's passionate about something? What if she's passionate about nursing? What if she's passionate about going into the medical field, being an attorney, a judge, all types of different things. You know what I mean? So I feel like our goal I feel like as men, our role could be that role to push them and encourage them while also being able to take care of them at a certain level. You know what I mean?
Right.
That makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, so how do y'all feel about, any of y'all can jump in, but I'm seeing on social media, how do y'all feel about, have y'all heard about like, you know, with, you know, the celebrities like Cardi B and all them and Sweetie and all them talking about, you know, if he doesn't buy you a Birkin bag, or if he doesn't buy you all of this or pay your bills, you kick him to the curb, leave him to the streets. How do y'all feel about that? Do you feel, you know, because we may be in different tax brackets with celebrities, but do you feel like we should, as like, Cynthia, what do you think? Do you think like women are kind of setting themselves back if they are having that idea? You know what I mean?
You know, honestly, I think it just depends on what you value the most, and maybe if you can find some deep insight with yourself and see what you're wanting. Is it just material, or are you wanting, it kind of goes back to the 5 love languages and how you express your love for other people. I guess like we do live in a capitalist society where we view material as major worth in a relationship, and so maybe that is perhaps why folks like Cardi B and other celebrities push for that. But I don't want to demonize it too much, just because it's okay to like things. It's okay to like expensive things. That's valid. If that's what you want out of a relationship, go for it. If it's not harming anyone else or the other person, go for it.
Okay. I got something in response to that. But Justin, did you have any ideas on like, how do you feel like, you know, it's wrong, not wrong, but do you feel like women are setting themselves back, you know, if a lot of them are advocating for just materialistic things rather than, you know, if a man like that, you know?
Like when it comes to the Birkin, I don't know how much it is. It's like a $200,000 bag.
Man, that bag like a Lamborghini.
Wow.
A whole mortgage. That's what that is.
So with that being said, like, I think it's just like, you want to make better financial choices, or just choices in general. You know, I would want you know, a person to know, you know, what's in our financial range, I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to say, but you know, like that's how I would want a person to look at it. And I feel like it's like like Cynthia mentioned, it's a lot of social input, a social influence that makes these girls think this way. I feel like, and they're like, if I don't think that way, then who am I? You know, kind of, you know, it's like a self-identity thing.
And I mean, because I see it a lot, you know, not even just with the Birkin bags, you know, but I also see it with like, you know, how many memes you guys see like, oh, I only respond to Cash App, you know what I mean? Like, send me money, stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it's just like, a man, in my opinion, as a man, I feel like your duty is to definitely spoil your woman. You know, you should always spoil your woman no matter what, if you can. But at the same time, you know, I feel like a lot of women nowadays, I wouldn't say a lot, let me not say a lot, but there are some women out there that believe that men should take care of them in a way like they're their children in a way. You know what I mean? Let me elaborate. Like, not in a disrespectful way, but when you sitting there and you get mad or you kick them to the curb because they can't pay your bills, especially at my age, you know, at my young age, I'm only in my early 20s. So it's like, if a man can't, they're trying to get their life together. You know what I mean? So if I can't send you a bunch of money all the time or help you pay your bills and all that, it's like, I'm a broke, I'm a broke ass, you know, whatever you want to call it. And I can't, you know, I can't provide for you. That's not the case at all. I'm not your father. I'm not your dad. I'm not supposed to take care of you in that way. You know what I mean? At least not for now. But like Cynthia said, though, everybody's different because some men want women that want them to, you know, to make the man feel like, you know, I'm taking care of you. Some men want that. Some men like when women stay home and, you know, have the traditional gender roles, whatever you want to call it. But some men like, no, I want you to be on your money just like I'm on my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys think that like if a man isn't the breadwinner in a relationship, does that make him less masculine? You know what I mean? Does that make him less of a man because he can't provide? What do you guys think?
Well, I guess from my perspective, if we ever want to have liberation on both sides for men and women, we have to kind of let go of some of these really rigid gender structured roles. And a breadwinner can be both family members at this point. America has really shifted away from that nuclear family setup that sometimes, you know, at least in my family, you know, we have the breadwinner is the mom and maybe the dad is the stay-at-home dad. These roles shift and it's okay. It's whatever you're content with and what makes you happy. But it's interesting that you bring up like the monetary value. There's a book I read that was talking about sexual economic theory and kind of how it operates under a free market system of how we interact in heterosexual relationships. And it's interesting because it brought up what was called transactional ethos, which is kind of like the dynamic we as social beings have created with such an emphasis on our economic system. And so it kind of goes into gender roles of like, what is the true dynamic? Do some women marry men because they want financial stability? What's going on there? So it kind of investigates. But I mean, I definitely think it doesn't make you any less of a man to not be a breadwinner. Perhaps you have other traits. I think it just comes down to we like to take emotions, human emotions, and quantify them into categories. Like this is a woman's emotion, this is a man's emotion. It's totally acceptable for men to be emotional creatures and we don't need to suppress that. I think as soon as we do that, we can have a much better society, especially in careers. For example, men are seen as unemotional and unable to be a supportive figure as a nurse, and they should be doctors. When women are seen, they should be nurses and not doctors.
Definitely.
We need to stop with that whole category system. Anyone can be anything. There's no human emotion that's only for men or only for women.
Definitely. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and let Justin jump in real quick before I respond to that.
I totally agree. with that. I feel like you have a lot that you know, and I would like to have more conversations with you.
Hey, we learn from everybody. I mean, I think it's a pride thing. And I don't know if a lot of men like to admit it. I mean, I dropped an episode about toxic masculinity about, I think it was episode 6. I can't remember. I dropped 10 episodes. But yeah, I dropped one about toxic masculinity, and I explained like it's a pride thing. You know what I mean? Because you're not necessarily seen as less masculine or less of a man just because you don't have financial stability right now. You know what I mean? But I think men are so prideful that it's like, and I can completely admit that I've struggled with this throughout my life before. You know what I mean? I've always felt that if I can't, you know, if I don't have the money to do something for this person, or if I can't, you know, go out on a date and feel comfortable with my pockets at the moment, you know what I mean? I always feel like I feel less of a man. And I admit that I've dealt with that myself. But as I matured, I learned to realize that one, especially at my age, we're still growing, trying to establish ourselves. And two, like, I need to get rid of my pride and realize that a woman can have just as much money as a man can. You know what I mean? There's a lot of rich women out there that have got things on their own. And I think that men as a whole need to put their pride to the side.
Right, because
you know what I mean?
Like ultimately, like money shouldn't even be the reason, you know, a woman loves you, I think.
And I think that's definitely
or true. You love another person.
That's definitely true. But the crazy part is that it's sad because think about it though. When you're trying to date, right, and you have money, and there's somebody not in your tax bracket, even though you really like this person, but it's not in the tax bracket, it's really hard to date that person because I feel like a lot of them think that they're just going to use them for their money. You know what I mean? So I know it's not about money, but I do think a lot of people do date, not even that they really like them, but for money.
But what about the possibility of that person building their own business, you know, maybe even having a bigger more money than you eventually?
No, I agree with that. But it's just like, I mean, look at celebrities. Let's be honest. Look at celebrities. It's a perfect example because celebrities are so open nowadays. It's crazy. Like they're just on social media like crazy. So it's easy to really read them now. But think about it. It's like you have celebrities out there that, you know, they could be dating somebody that they probably really don't like them, but they only dating them because one, the status and they're in the same tax bracket as them. But let alone me, let's say for instance, Beyonce looks at me and like, oh, Marcus is the finest man on the planet. No, really.
An achievement.
Say if Beyonce looked at me and was like, Marcus, you were the finest man on the planet, but I can't date you because you don't have enough money as me. You know what I mean? It's like, so I feel like people do date for money sometimes. You know what I mean? Let's not even think about celebrities. Think about millionaires that aren't celebrities. I mean, yeah, millionaires that probably can't date that person because you just don't make as much money as me. I just can't. But you're really attractive and I really love your personality. You know what I mean? Like, it's really confusing. So I get how it shouldn't be about money, but our society nowadays is so materialistic is that it's like hard to not make it about money. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, Cynthia?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to kind of, I sometimes feel like celebrities are on a different plane of existence. Like their worries are so different than a working class, blue collar worker, you know? So yeah, it definitely, I think economics does play a part in how we have relationships and dynamics. I took a sociology class this summer about family and relationships. And it was interesting when you discuss like poverty and low income and marginalized communities, kind of like how wealth inequality or economic inequality brings out some of the negative factors in these communities, maybe domestic violence, things like that. And when you have basic needs met, you can have some of that stability to have good fostering relationships. But yeah, it's a really complex issue. It's socioeconomics. It's very, dependent on the situation. But yeah, I definitely think celebrities, they're on another income bracket we'll never understand. I mean, I don't know what it's like to own X amount of houses and all that. But I would imagine that sometimes fame and wealth can change a relationship of celebrities who went from being like, in some moderate amount of movies and then getting a lot of stardom. I've read a lot about, it changes relationships and people get divorced sometimes if their partner is not as famous as them. It puts a strain on the relationship.
And I think it all depends too, when somebody doesn't come from money or they don't have money, you know what I mean? And let's just say, for example, like say a woman doesn't come from money. She doesn't have money and she's not used to having that much money. But then a man, comes across her, they start talking and anything, they start dating, but this man is like rich, you know what I mean? So she's like with this rich man. So now I feel like her mindset would change. For a man as well, I think when a man, if they end up dating a woman with a lot of money, I feel like a lot of their mindsets change and now they feel like, oh, well now I'm on this status, you know what I mean? Y'all beneath me, y'all below me, so y'all can't date me or talk to me, leave me alone. You know what I mean? And I think we have to get out of that element. I do think celebrities play a huge role on that because I mean, people need to realize though, like Sweetie and all these other celebrities out there may be saying, pay my bills, buy me Birkin. They gotta realize though, we're all not rich and famous like them. You know what I mean? So she can say that what she want, but the normal people, the normal man and the normal woman isn't really looking at them like, okay, yeah, for sure. No, they're looking at you like, well, unfortunately, we don't have it like you. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's a really touchy subject, but there's a lot that comes into play with it than just money. I think that gender role relationships in general, it's a shift and people need to realize it and stop treating each other like, like they're supposed to be in their place. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but it's just like, my last thing I kind of want you guys to touch on. So if you see like a woman saying like, oh, a man's not doing this, a man's not paying the bills, a man's not providing for his family, should a man come back and say like, well, how come you aren't in the kitchen cooking? How come you aren't taking care and cleaning the kitchen and cleaning the house and everything? Now, how do y'all feel about that? You know what I mean? Because I see a lot of stuff, interaction on Twitter, Instagram. It's like women are bashing men for not doing manly things. But then I feel like if a man bashes a woman for not doing the traditional womanly things, it's like, you know, it flips. How do y'all feel about that? It's a hard one, huh?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Hard one. I know.
Can you say that again?
Because I see it all the time, bro. I see on social media specifically that there'll be women that bash men for not doing manly things such as providing for the family or you know, taking care of stuff, doing certain things, or having their own business, or being an entrepreneur, or whatever you want to call it. But then on the flip side, if I see a lot of arguments that say, well, what if a man comes back at the woman and bashes the woman and say, well, you're not doing womanly things. How come you aren't cleaning? You can't cook. How come you can't cook? Why aren't you cleaning the house? You're not taking care of the kid. You know what I mean? So like, how do you combat that? How do you fight that?
I feel like there should be more of an agreement, you know, between that couple, or, you know, and so you should establish what you know, task you want to take on and what task I'm going to take on if I'm going to be doing most of the, like, I guess, because it also sounds like in that case, like the woman's not necessarily bringing her half, you know, for there to be that issue in the first place, you know, like, oh, he's not doing this, you know. I don't know, because a woman could be doing, like, that could be the case, like a woman's doing, you know, like more than enough almost for the man, and then he's not being a father, barely coming home and stuff like that. So like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is crazy. You went away though for a second. Oh, there you go. He's back. Cynthia, how do you feel about that? No, you good. No worries. How do you feel about that? Like, what's going on in your head?
I definitely agree with Justin. I think you need to have these conversations in the early beginning stage of a relationship, whether you're married or not, whether you're just dating. See what your compatibility is, see what goals you're wanting and what the other partner's wanting. For me, it's interesting because this is very much under, our conversations in the framework of a cis heteronormative like relationship, right? Like a straight relationship. And for me, it's completely different. I am a lesbian woman who is in a relationship with another woman. And so many times we just don't have those type of gender roles. Like, who's the cook? Who cleans? Who does that? Like we just, there's an entirely different dynamic in how we operate in a household as a couple and how we operate in society. And so it's interesting, I think I always tell people there's no strict gender roles for two women in a relationship because we have to navigate a new type of space. There's no rules. There's no like societal rules about what, queer women do in relationships or gay men. And so for me, it's like, I'm always exploring what it's like, and sometimes, the economic situation, women make less typically than men. And so we just kind of combine our economic efforts. And I feel like it's more of a collaborative relationship. And I'm not saying that straight couples can't have that. And I've seen it plenty of times. I think we just have to let go of some of our preconceived notions of what a marriage or relationship has to look like beyond just gender or sexuality. We probably have to start collaborating and working together.
Cynthia hitting us with the facts, boy. She hitting us with the facts. But I mean, true though. I think as a man, especially, I think that it shouldn't really matter as much. You know what I mean? Like, who cares if I have to cook, for the night? Who cares if I have to clean? I feel like it should be an equal effort. It should be 50. I mean, it's just really hard though, because I do, I live here too. You're not my mother. You're not, my grandmother. I'm not a child. You don't, it's not your responsibility to pick up after me and always have to clean after me and always have to, wash my dishes and everything. Maybe one day if I'm working really late and you happen to be off that day, then yeah, it's understandable. But I feel like a lot of men need to get out this idea that women need to be women. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? A woman needs to be a woman, stay in a woman's place. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Why does it have
like to make a sandwich? That.
You know what I mean?
That type of attitude.
I know if there's men out there that are watching this that definitely agree with me, I apologize. I'm entitled to my own opinion, but it's just like, at the end of the day, bro, like you guys have to realize that these roles may exist, but they're different elements. Like it's not like a specific element or a specific role that you have. You know what I mean? Like I do expect, you know, that a man should open doors for women. You know, I do expect that men should get, if you're with a woman, you should never have them pump their own gas and let it with you. You know, or if you have to change a tire, you should never let a woman get down there and change a tire while you're sitting around. You know what I mean? Like there's roles in that perspective that can be a manly thing. But as far as like an overall life role or overall living situation, you know, it just doesn't, I don't know. It's just, it can go a lot of different ways. It's just really, it's a really toughy discussion because
and every relationship is a lifestyle. That's kind of what I always tell people. Every relationship you've been in the past or the present has a certain lifestyle to it. You kind of discover how y'all both operate, and so I always tell people, so maybe there's a day where you and your partner, you're giving your 60% to them, and maybe they're just having a tough week. It's a part of a relationship is kind of the balance, but sometimes the scale goes out of whack and you got to help your partner, and maybe they return that favor for you later. I think that's what a true partnership is, seeing, being willing to give even though they can't give you that 50% back maybe at the time. And I think that's a key component for a healthy relationship.
That sounds like vulnerability too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
You know, having that faith that, you know, even though they're not, like you said, not giving their 50%, that hopefully they'll return that favor.
Definitely. So what about, speaking of that, what about that 50-50 idea? You know what I mean? Like, what about that idea that I have proof, like if one day anybody watching this is questioning me, I have proof I can screenshot and show y'all that I've seen this online, that a lot of women hate the fact that people say that a relationship should be 50-50. And if you think I'm lying, there's a lot of women out there that I've seen personally that say, no, a relationship should not be 50-50. You know what I mean? A man should do more. So what about this 50-50 idea? Like, do you think a relationship should be split? I mean, I have my opinions on it. I'll just go ahead and express my opinions on it really quick. My idea of the 50-50 split, it shouldn't be 50-50. What it should be is that if that person can help at this current moment in time, that person should help in this current moment in time. You know what I mean?
Wait,
like,
hold on. What are we talking about 50-50? Are we talking about money again?
You know what? That's actually a good point, because 50-50 could go a lot of ways. So thank you for bringing that up. Let's focus on the money aspect then, because that could go a lot of ways. You know, you can do 50-50 around the house, taking care of the kids and everything like that. But let me focus on the money thing. So like I'm saying, my opinion of the 50-50 thing is that if that person can help financially in that current moment in time, then that's good. You know, that's a good percentage of helping or whatever. You know, because some people are down bad. Some people don't have the money at the current situation. Things happen in life. And this other person may have more money than your partner at that moment because, you know, you're doing good in life right now. You know what I mean? So when somebody says it should be 50-50, I don't think it should be 50-50. But I do also think that it shouldn't be, you know, a man just 80-20. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, how do y'all feel?
I guess from an economic standpoint, something that is often a topic in feminism and when discussing parental rights is kind of like how men sometimes get screwed over by the court system with maybe how they have to compensate an ex-wife or child support. And I'm not trying to say I'm anti-child support. I fully agree that child support is a really good economic way to help provide for children when they have a divorce situation. But I think we need to probably, you know, if we want to achieve equity, you have to achieve equality first. So that goes both ways with men and women. And so maybe just making sure we can provide the ability to allow men to have more agency, and some of that would be maybe, you know, the man receives money and he has the kids full time or something. Say you're a single dad and maybe it's the ex-wife who's paying, you know, the alimony and the child support. Maybe just kind of seeing things, men can be dads too, and that's something you'll see a lot in the court system. Judges will have bias and be like, well, woman is naturally more motherly and supportive, but there are situations where the mother is maybe abusive and there's a reason for the kids not to have access to that part. So I guess that's kind of where my head went to it. I don't know. I would love to hear Justin's perspective.
I'm sorry. can we actually run that topic back? We're talking about can we just run this back?
No, we're just like, if you know, we're all here to, you know, have conversation and learn from each other. Like, we don't necessarily have to have, you know, opinions on it. It's just basically, you know, about the idea of that 50-50 relationship, or that equality. Because how she was saying that to get equality, to get equity, what'd you say? You said to get equity, you need equality first.
Yeah, you have to get that first.
To get equity, you need to have equality first. So it's like, you know, I feel like it's just a conversation that needs to be talked about. And I think a lot of men mask their feelings or their emotions, and they don't have those open conversations with their partner. You know what I mean? And
so you're saying it's in a relationship, to earn money, both the man and the female would have to have equal opportunity in the workspace.
I mean, that definitely we didn't really touch on that, but that definitely actually is a good point, because I mean, how can someone be 50-50 if you want to bring up the gender wage gap that's been going on for how long? You know what I mean? So I mean, that's a great point actually, Justin, because I mean, you know, if you want to look at it 50-50, how can someone really truly be 50-50 if deep down a woman, it sucks to say it, but a woman just not going to make as much as a man, at least right now in the current climate that we've been in. You know what I mean?
And it's often, oh my bad.
I feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm like trying to get adjusted to Zoom, and I'm like trying to find
Zoom, hey, everybody's watching this Zoom stuff, definitely experience, I promise y'all. So thank y'all for sticking with us. But yeah, no problem. Y'all just jump in whenever.
Do you want to go first, Justin?
I forgot I was going to say. You go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I was just going to say something that is often overlooked with the wage gap is when they say women make less than men, it's actually using the data they found from white women. And often the overlooked aspect would be Latina women, Asian women, all of that gets often ignored. So you'll see even less to the dollar. If you look up all of that data, you'll see that you kind of get screwed over. If you're a woman of color in America, white women have it a lot easier in terms of that economic wage gap and stuff. And so that's something I always try to tell people when we have this conversation is that there's some white privilege going on with women when it comes to that. And then it goes down.
Well, it definitely is, but even though there is white privilege, it's still definitely something to look at. It's crazy how, you know, there still is a gender wage gap even with white women.
Yeah.
Which is even crazy because they do have that white privilege, but they still have that inequality at the economy level. You know, it's crazy to think that.
And I just remember what I was gonna say, like you're saying, women in the workspace too is like, I feel like they deal with a lot more than what men deal with as far as like sexual harassment and different things like that, and just kind of being almost bullied. Like I've worked and I've witnessed it. So I don't know. I feel like it's also like there's dynamics at work for women that kind of makes it uncomfortable to even want to be there. You know.
That's true. And I mean, let's look at Black women, for instance. You know, in the Black community, a lot of people are afraid of a strong, powerful Black woman. Let's specifically say white men. I'll just go ahead and call it out. You know, there's white men in, you know, white America that are afraid to hire strong, smart Black women because it's like, it's seen as a threat to them. You know what I mean? A Black woman smarter than me? What? Black woman is stronger than me and can lead this company better than me? What? No way. You know what I mean? So I mean, not even just, I'm just speaking on Black women because I'm in the Black community, so I can speak on that specifically. But you know, in any minority community, you know what I mean? If there's a woman in a minority that's rising up to power, it's like seen as a threat. And until we fix the wage gap, there really truly will never be equality amongst genders. You know what I mean? I mean, socially and you know, socially we can have that equality, but there never really will be true equality until, you know, we fix that wage gap. And it's interesting to see how that goes. I mean, do you guys think in the current election, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously I can kind of see where people lean, you know, just based off of conversations that I have with them. But I mean, this current election, like, I mean,
where's that?
You said what?
Where do you think that is? Do you think that's Trump, or you're talking about like the main
I mean, I'm a bash Trump no matter what, so that's kind of a biased question. So that's a biased question, so I can't even really answer that. But I mean, like I said, I feel like we shouldn't wait. We shouldn't wait until it has to reach the political level. I think it's just a person thing. It's just a human thing. You know what I mean? Men, right. I'm speaking on men. I can say this straight up. Men need to get out this idea and this mentality that women can't be strong and women can't be bosses and have their own money and their own lifestyle.
Let go of the ego.
Yeah, ego thing. And like I told y'all, I'll be real. I admit it, bro. Like I admit it, growing up, struggling, having that ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
If
I'm still breaking it.
Yeah, like if I'm dating, I'll be real. Give you an example. If I'm going out on a date and a woman's like, "Oh, no worries, I got you. I'll pay for it." I feel like, not now. I'm just saying back then. I don't think like that now. But a few years ago, I'll be like, I'll be like, "Why you trying to pay? I got this. No, you good. I got this." You know what I mean? Because that ego and that pride, like, no, I'm the man. I'm taking her on a date. You know what I mean? Right. And I have to be real. That's real, bro. People don't realize how real that is. People really think like it's crazy. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just interesting to see. And I don't think we should wait at the political level. But I do think, obviously, politics is going to have an influence in it because, you know, they help determine budgets and economy and taxes and all that extra stuff. I don't want to get into politics too much in this episode, but it can definitely lean that way. But enough of me chit-chatting, gibbering about that. I do have one important thing that I do want to address really quick before we jump off of here. Cynthia, so I know you identify as a feminist. You know, you explain to the people what the idea of feminism is, you know, what do you study and everything like that. But I do want to ask a serious question. So how do you feel about, you know, there are some feminists out there that feel like, you know, a man opening a door for a woman is cruel. Why are you doing that? I can open up my own door. Or pumping gas. I can pump my own gas. I'm strong enough to do. So how do you feel about feminists that think like that? Do you believe that it should be that way or shouldn't be that way? And if you don't have an opinion and you don't really want to answer it, it's fine. Or I kind of want to have a dialogue and conversation of how do we see that? Because I do, you know, I personally see it like not a big deal. I'm just opening the door for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Like, I'm not going to be mad if a man opens the door for me. You know, I open doors for anyone of any gender when I'm on campus. I feel like that's just like the environment we have at SUU. You just do courteous things. You help each other out, T-birds. But as a feminist, I feel like you have like these really rigid imagery of what feminism was like in the 60s and 70s. You have like the bra burning feminists led by a mostly white straight women who had certain ideas. And that's not to say every feminist from the past had perfect politics or perfect analysis. You know, it's a collective minor or major. I feel like you have so many intersectional ways to analyze things. So not every, you know, feminist is going to have, from every decade, will have the right take, or a hot take. I think we're at a point in society where we need to just normalize letting men and women interacting. You know, I think diversity is a thing. I think when we're all in a shared space, it's good to have those interactions. I think feminism, there are sections of feminism I don't agree with. I don't agree with what they're called TERFs. TERF stands for trans exclusionary radical feminists, which means they don't include trans folk into their feminism, and they demonize and villainize trans women and men. And I don't vibe with that at all. And I don't agree with that. I'm like, And so those type of feminists, I don't even consider them, in my own perspective, I don't consider them feminists, because if you want to demonize, you know, they seem like they're really into just oppressing other people. They just want to be an oppressor. They don't actually see things on the terms of like, how do we have equal and equitable society? And so there's even another branch off of that, which are like anti-sex working radical feminists, or maybe, you know, there's all types of different branches that you can find. But I'm an intersectional feminist, which means I'm trans friendly. I analyze things from Indigenous peoples' perspectives, from the Black community, from how these things intersect, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think old school feminists, they have a weird attitude towards some of that, but I don't care at all. I'm like, open a door for me, pay for my meal, I don't care.
Simple as that. Generation shift. Justin, how you feel about it from a man's perspective? You know, like that idea of, you know, us taking care of a woman or opening the door for them and little things like that. From a man's perspective, like when women have that mindset of like, why are you doing that for me? Like, how does that make you feel like as a man?
As a man, it makes me feel like I'm doing my duty when I'm opening the door for a woman or paying for the meal, like you said. So as a man, it makes me feel good. I don't think, I think there's both toxicity in both sides, you know, gender, or male and female. And how like men, they're like, oh, if you open the door for a woman, or, you know, that's soft, you know, like, you know?
Yo, why is that true, man? That's true. You're a simp. You a simp.
It's bad. Yeah, you're a simp, man. I'm a major simp.
That is true. It's like when men care about a woman and they do things to show that they appreciate that woman. A lot of other men out there are like, oh, you a simp, you're soft. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're emotional. Like what? Like, what do you mean? I can't, you know, anyway, but that's off topic. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I mean, it's like
I can't be in love.
You in love. I mean, but, you know, but like back to the topic though, it's like, it's definitely true. I mean, you know, I do personally disagree with women who think like, you know, if we open the door for them or something, it's seen as like, oh my gosh, you're treating me like I can't do it myself. You know what I mean? It's not that at all. You know what I mean? It's just a gentleman standard. It's just a gentleman thing. You know, it's like, we get you're strong. We get you're a strong woman. We get you're capable of so much, but it's just like, you know, I'm just opening the door for you. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I don't mean no harm. But like what Cynthia was saying, that goes back to generational shift. You know what I mean? Like our ideas shift with generations. And I mean, just to go back to politics and election, I mean, you can relate it in a way. When people have different political ideas and conservative ideas, whatever you want to call it, you have to think about the generational shift. And a lot of those young people that have those ideas of extreme feminists or any other extreme behavior, is usually taught from like their family or somebody they look up to, because you have to think about it now. In our current day in society and the way we are now, do you really think those conservative values should really hold up that strong if they weren't taught that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that was confusing, but I mean like, as a society, bro, it's like, it's really hard to grasp the fact that people still have those old school 1920s, 1930s ideas still, because we didn't grow up in that era. So it had to be taught. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, and that's why I'm happy. I really wanted Cynthia to really elaborate on the feminism idea, because, I mean, I will be honest, like 2-3 years ago, like before I even got to SUU, like I say that was like 3-4 years ago, you know, when I really wasn't really involved with different communities, I wasn't really involved with different organizations. My idea of feminism was just extremist, like extreme feminism. They hate men. You know what I mean? And I will be openly honest to people that are watching, and Cynthia and everybody. I will be openly honest. Like a few years ago, I thought feminism was really seen as like this extreme, I hate men, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not the only one. I mean, that's how I felt when I was in school.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's a common thing. So I mean, like Cynthia, I guess it begins with conversation, right? It just begins with like, you know, things like this, being able to open up and explain to people that that's not what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
We all have our own biases, you know. It's like I'm not the same person I was in high school versus now. I'm approaching like the end of undergrad. I've changed a lot, you know, and I think we got to be open to growing, and that's why I kind of am reluctant with conservatism and traditionalism, because if it wasn't for me being who I am, you know, some folks might look at me and go, wow, a woman shouldn't have short hair, a woman should not wear khaki pants. You know, I'm just out here vibing, existing, expressing myself. There's no right or wrong way to be a woman. It's just being you. Right.
And like I skateboard, so it's like funny, like girls, they get like made fun of like for skating, you know, or I wouldn't say they get made fun of, but yeah, I think that's like a thing in the past, like that, you know, if you're skating or you're a tomboy or whatever the case may be. But there's even girly girls skating now. So it's like, I don't know, like you were saying, every day we change, you know, our ideas change, you know, we have different experiences, you know, so we're constantly evolving.
We just need to let people honestly enjoy their lives and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a broader topic to anything, but I mean, specifically with genders, you know what I mean? And trying to fight for gender equality and stuff, you know what I mean? I believe that we should let women live the way that they want to live, and we should let men live the way that they want to live, whether we agree with it or not. If that's the way they want to live their life, like we discussed earlier, everybody's different. Every relationship is different. If a woman wants to date a man or marry a man for materialistic things, then let them be that. If a man wants to have a woman that is seen as like the submissive type and wants that woman to, you know, cherish the man as this manly figure, then so be it. If that's what they want, and if they're good with that in their relationship, then so be it. You know, there's a lot of things we can disagree with, but at the end of the day, we're not living with them. We're not in their family. You know what I mean? But I just really want to have this episode because I do see a lot of it's a lot of men and women we're so against each other, you know, to be honest. Like, we're so against each other nowadays, and it's just like, I see a lot of posts like, I hate men. I hate men ain't S word. I don't want to cuss men, but men ain't this, men ain't that. I hate men. Men are disgusting. Men stay away from me. But then you have men are saying like, you know, call women hoes, call women, you know, if they're going out doing certain things, they're seen as a hoe, or seen as this and that. Women aren't, you know, go clean, go cook, go do something. You know what I mean? It's a lot of bad energy bumping heads with each other. You know what I mean? And then, so how do y'all feel my really last topic, how do y'all feel we can fix that? What final closing words do you have for the people? How do we fix men and women coming together and stop putting this idea and these roles on each other? How do we stop it?
I'm sorry, ladies first.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you, Justin.
No, let's say gender roles. Actually, let me go first.
All right, let's do it.
Right? Should get it. I was gonna say, I'm drawing a blank. Can you go back a little bit?
Go ahead. Let's let Cynthia jump in, then you'll jump in after.
Okay. Yeah.
As a political science major, my brain keeps going into like political science mode, and I'm like, okay, we got to get some political advocacy here, right? I'm a huge fan of having diverse representation representing us in government, and so I think obviously men and women, no matter what your sexuality is, whatever your race is, find some solidarity and work towards goals together, build coalitions, work towards making our society more equitable, and have a government that works for us and have our basic needs met so we can continue improving society. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. Everyone has to do it, you know, and maybe challenge yourself. Listen to a podcast or watch a documentary that you may never have watched. And maybe if you're in college, I would say try out a women and gender sexuality class. Check it out.
Episode 10.
Just continue to educate yourself and always be open to other people's perspectives and lives and their experiences. And I think when we're open with each other, then we can problem solve together.
Definitely. Thank you for those words. Justin, you got some words for the people?
I think when we stop coming at each other is when we stop judging ourselves. I feel like a lot of the judgment comes from first judging ourselves, like I'm not this, I'm not that. So you try to create that other person into, you know, what you want, you know, or what you want yourself to be. So I would say we just gotta stop judging ourselves and love ourselves a little bit more, and do whatever we want to do, you know, and stop waiting on someone's approval. I think that's when we'll start having equality.
Definitely, and I think my words are really kind of like, you know, piggybacking off of what Cynthia and Justin were saying. You know, I think that, you know, once we come together and stop, you know, stop criticizing people for doing what they want, stop looking at people, like you said, love yourself. If you know your worth first, then there wouldn't really be that much tension like how we have it. You know what I mean? And I think that those ideas of women ain't ish or men ain't ish or whatever, it comes from one, not necessarily not loving yourself, but you know, not understanding your worth. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, you know, when we grow up in life, you know, we're still young. When we grow up through life, you know, we're going to meet people that really are terrible people. We're going to meet people that are amazing people. But just because you run into those terrible people first does not mean that you're not going to run into good people later on. You know what I mean? You want to have those situations to where you really do feel like, I can't ever date, I can't ever go out and be this person because I hate every man on the planet. I hate every woman on the planet. You know what I mean? So it's like, we really have to realize our self-worth first. And once you realize your self-worth, you realize the people that you want to surround yourself with. And then, you know, then it just comes like that. You know, you can't, and I keep telling people, you know, you can't let one bad situation define how you treat the next person. And I can admit that, again, another confession, you know, back in the day, like when I was in my younger days, my freshman year of college, and in my younger days, like if somebody did something bad to me, I really had that bad energy to where I wanted to like do it to the next person. Not that I wanted to, but like I felt like, nah, forget it. You know, everybody doing me dirty, I'm gonna do everybody else dirty. You know what I mean? And that's a bad mentality to have. I definitely had that mentality back then. We cannot have that mentality until we fix ourselves and understand our worth and surround ourselves with people that we love and cherish and that are on the same wavelength and same energy as us, then it's going to be good. And that goes for the gender roles. You know what I mean? Like you said, every relationship's different, but like I said, as long as you're around that person that you love and that you feel like is bringing you good energy, that's all that matters, and nobody can tell you anything. You know what I'm saying? Snaps to that. No, really, no, man. I really appreciate y'all jumping on here, episode 10, to have this conversation and really, you know, dive deep into, you know, these certain dilemmas, because, you know, this podcast is all about, you know, teaching the people and just having open dialogue and having open conversation that people are afraid to have. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all for stepping out your comfort zone. I know this isn't an easy conversation to have. You know what I mean? Because some things we could say could come off offensive or like we didn't really mean that. So I do appreciate y'all for definitely jumping on here, for real. That's love.
I appreciate you, man.
But y'all let me go ahead and let y'all got any announcements, anything going on in y'all lives real quick before we jump off of here? We want to let the people know. Cynthia, what you got going on over there at SUU? Anything coming up?
I'm a bridge student right now, so I'm in the master's for public administration right now, as well as finishing off my bachelor's. So I'll be going into grad school next year, and after I get my master's, I'm looking to apply in Oregon, Colorado, and Canada for my women, gender, and sexuality PhD. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, big stuff. We MPA buddies.
Yeah.
I got one more semester of my MPA buddies. MPA is definitely, you'll have fun. Just stay engaged, have fun. But definitely, that's good stuff. PhD, whew, congrats.
Yeah, expect some published writings for sure.
Definitely, but definitely, you got my support. You got my support. Anything you need, you know, you can holler at me. You know, it's all good energy around here. And if you ever need any assistance, if you ever want to come back on another episode and, you know, say your dissertation or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for platforming me.
Definitely, I got you, Justin. What you got going on? Anything crazy you got going on right now, or if not, you know, what anything announcements?
Nothing real crazy going on right now. Just having fun, man. Learning to just enjoy life more, you know, take a day at a time. But I've been working on music, so I'm hoping to put some music out soon, whether it's producing or me actually being on the, you know, the song. So
definitely.
I'm looking forward.
What's your YouTube handle so people will know?
I believe this is bad. I don't know. I believe it's Justin Burks.
Justin Burks. If you look up Justin Burks, you'll pop up.
It's bad.
It's Justin Burks, y'all. Justin Justin Burks Burks. So even if you can't definitely, but y'all can always holler at me, let me know, and I can definitely get y'all connected. So for real, if y'all interested in anything Cynthia has to offer, anything Justin has to offer, I'll definitely keep y'all connected. And I definitely appreciate y'all for connecting with me. And I hope you guys share this, and you know, we really spread the message the best we can to the people. And you know, that's really all I have to say to it. But like I said, y'all stay safe out there. It's Docseason episode 10. Y'all know where it's at. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Marcus the Doc. You already know it's always the same, always been the same, will never change unless something drastically happens in my life. But I doubt it. But it's Marcus the Doc as always, man. Signing off to you, episode 10. Y'all, love y'all.